Hiya, thanks for joining me. My name's Emily and I am a chef tutor here at the Waitrose Cookery School in Finchley Road. Welcome to your Prepare Ahead Christmas cookery class. I'm going to be going through the perfect chicken stew, crunchy, fluffy roast potatoes, and port, cardamom, cranberry sauce. These are all really great, simple recipes that you guys can do before the big day. You can freeze the roast potatoes, cranberry sauce, and your jus, so you're not too stressed. Great to be sharing some more fabulous recipes with other partners. So the first thing we're going to be starting off with is our beautiful chicken stew, our chicken gravy. So for this, we've got some chicken wings. So I've just got myself a packet of chicken wings here. Now the reason we're using chicken wings, obviously mainly for flavour. Chicken wings are quite high in collagen, so that means you get a deeper chicken flavour and you also get a nice, thick, luxurious texture in your chicken stew, the end result. So it's important though, we're not just going to pop these in with some stock and some veg and boil it away and expect it to taste nice. We've got to start layering the flavour of that stew. So we're going to pop on, make sure you've got a big pan, quite a big saucepan. We can pop that on to start preheating on about a medium heat. And then just on my red board here, just with my chicken wings, pop them straight out. So with the chicken wings, my ones here, they've sort of been broken down into smaller pieces already, so I'm quite lucky. If you have the chicken wings that have both parts attached, then it might be a bit easier to split them in two. But what I always tend to do is just score the meat slightly on the wings. Just helps to release some of that nice flavour into your jus before we start colouring them off in our pan. So it's important to get a nice hot pan so we're able to get a really nice caramelised outer edge to our chicken wings and really nice crispy skin. That is going to be the key to a really tasty chicken sauce. So pretty much scored all the wings. Excellent. Right, make sure we're washing our hands as well, especially in between jobs when we're dealing with raw meat. So you'll notice I've preheated my pan dry. I've not added any oil to this yet. If you add oil straight away, it's going to get really, really smoky and burn. So have your pan on preheating dry, and then when you're ready to go with your chicken wings, you can go in with some sunflower oil. So you want quite a good splash of sunflower oil in there. You need the fat in there. It's going to conduct the heat and help the chicken wings colour. If we didn't have fat in there, then they would just sort of just boil away. They'd burn, they'd stick a lot easier. So you need to make sure you've got a good layer of oil in there. So I'm just sort of very gently placing the chicken wings into the pan. Obviously, there's lots of fat in there. So I don't want to just fire them all in. Be careful it doesn't splash up. Placing them all in and hearing that sizzle straight away is exactly what we're looking for. You can get rid of our raw chicken board at this point. Give a little spray down if you need to as well. So, our sizzle in the pan. Really, really important. It means our pan's hot enough and it means it's doing the right thing with our chicken wings. I'm going to season my chicken wings as well. So a little bit of salt in there, just a few cracks. Just to start off with layering the flavour of the jus. We don't want to be just firing in loads of salt right at the end. We want to start layering the flavour right at the start. And sort of seasoning anything is just drawing the natural flavours out of our chicken wings anyway, so it's always a good idea to do it sort of straight away. So you need to be patient with these. Mine are sort of sticking. They're not coming out from the bottom of the pan at the moment. That's fine. They're just telling me they're not done yet. If they're sticking and not moving, it just means that you haven't got that nice crisp outer edge yet. So just leave them on, leave them to colour. Be patient before we flip them over, because we want to make sure we are getting that really deep, rich outside to our chicken wings. So while we're waiting for these, we can prepare the rest of the veg. As well, just in case, another little tip, guys, if you just get a damp piece of kitchen roll and pop it underneath your board, it helps it to sort of not slip around the place, so it's nice and safe. So let's go through the rest of our ingredients. So I have white onion, leek, carrot, garlic, and a little wrap of thyme here as well. So these are basic sort of mirror-fry, it's called, veg ingredients to any sort of stock and sauce, just to impart loads of nice flavour. Obviously, onions and carrots, once they're cooked down, is quite a nice sweet flavour. Really, really simple. Hopefully things that you'd have lying around in the fridge around Christmas time anyway. So we'll start off with our onion. So we'll take the end of the onion off first. Let's make a little tunnel with your hands. Slice down the centre. And then because we're just roughly chopping the onion, you can take the root end off as well. It doesn't have to be neat. You don't need to worry about chopping it too small either. Like, we're going to be just roughly chopping our veg nice and chunky. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You'll always find onions easier to peel if you halve them. So I always halve mine first, just speeds things up a little bit. So onion, so I'm just going to go in half. And then just into sort of nice chunks. Now, we don't have to have perfectly sort of diced onion or carrot, but it is important to make sure that things are roughly the same sort of size, because we want things to colour and cook down at a similar speed. So for my leek, I've just got half a leek. So always make sure that you give your leeks a good rinse under some cold water. Just to get rid of any bits of dirt or grit in there. And then just run the knife through again. And just pop them with your onions. My carrot, I'm not going to bother peeling my carrot. It's going to be strained off in the sauce anyway, so I don't think you need to. So I'm just going to go ahead straight away and slice it. I am going to slice mine in half first. My carrot's quite large, so if I slice it in half, it just means I can get nice sort of thinner chunks of carrot. I like to slice the carrot like this, so you have quite a larger surface area here for the carrot. It just means you get sort of extract more flavour rather than just having a carrot cut into really big chunks. It sort of works a bit better. So my veg is mostly there. Let's have another look at our chicken wings. So what I was saying about chicken wings sticking, or any meat or fish when you're cooking it, when it sticks, it's saying, I'm not ready, leave me alone. So now, as soon as I go in, I can pick it up and flip it over straight away. So you can see there, I've got a really beautiful colour, and that's what we're looking for. Not burnt, not black. We don't want it to be bitter, but that really nice outside is exactly what we're going for. And all that flavour is going to go straight into our chicken sauce. Absolutely beautiful. So pop the heat down just a little bit. So we're going to colour the other side, and then make sure you've got yourself a colander ready. We're just going to strain out the chicken wings. So we want to make sure there's enough space in our pan to be able to colour off all our veg as well. So yeah, we're not going to do it all at the same time. We're going to do our chicken wings, we do the same thing to our veg, then combine the two. You have a garlic clove as well, so 1 garlic clove. With this, you can just give it a crush. Take the skin out, and that can just go in whole. And then I have my herbs. So I've got a good few sprigs of thyme. With our herbs, they tend to die very quickly and easily in the fridge. So if you just get a damp piece of kitchen roll, wrap them up, it keeps them fresh for a lot longer. So that's ready to go. Then lastly, we have our stock. Talked about our stock in a minute. So my chicken wings, I reckon, are nearly there. So I'm happy with my chicken wings. So obviously this is going to be very hot. So do be careful. Make sure you've got a cloth. And then just pop them out into your colander, just to drain off any of that excess fat. We used our sunflower oil, but obviously the chicken wings are going to sort of leaked out some of their fat as well. So I'm just going to pour that into the colander. And then any fat that's still in there, it's fine. We're going to use that to cook our veg. So I'm going to go in with my onions, leeks, carrots. I'm going to go in there with my garlic and my thyme as well. So all our nice prepared veg. And good crack of salt. It's just as important to season these as well as it was the chicken wings. As what I said, layering the flavour. Whenever you're cooking onions or veg, always make sure you're adding that salt at the beginning so it's got time to do its work and draw out all the natural flavours of your veg. So you just want to make sure there's enough oil in there to cook the veg, you know, to stick. You want to sort of sweat down your veg relatively sort of nice and gently. You don't want it too hot. Sort of the longer time you spend sweating them down and drawing out all the sort of natural sugars and flavours, the tastier the sauce. So it's not something that can be rushed. But that's what's great about this recipe, is that it's something that you can obviously do way in advance. You can either have it in your fridge for up to sort of 3 days, or you can freeze it as well and then just bring it out the morning, Christmas morning, if you're having it with your Christmas dinner, and just let it defrost. So it's smelling amazing already. So the only other things we have to add, we have 250 mils of white wine, dry white wine. Very important for any gravy or jus, whether it's red wine, white wine, or port. It just adds a very nice acidity through the sauce, which is quite important. Obviously, chicken wings, they're pretty fatty. They've quite a sort of rich flavour to them, as well as the sweet carrots, the sweet onions. So having a nice amount of wine in there, we're going to reduce right down by about half. Just adds a good acidity and balances out the sauce for us. And we also have some chicken stock. So we're using our fresh chicken stock here. So it's 1 litre altogether. This chicken stock's absolutely great. Obviously, making your own chicken stock can be quite a lot of work and time. So by using the fresh stock, it's taken out half the work. The fresh stocks as well, they've got a lot. They haven't got sort of the additives that stock cubes have. So stocks like this, you can reduce them right down, like we will be doing later with these, because they haven't got that high salt content that other that stock cubes have. So these work really well for sauces. Because they've been made with chicken bones and things like that as well, it means that they naturally have that gelatinous texture that the sauce is going to get as well. So the two together combined makes a really nice thick jus. It works perfectly as well. So with these two containers, once you've used your stock, wash them out, and then you can use one for your cranberry sauce in the fridge, and the other you can just put your jus back into. It's the perfect amount of each to fit back into your containers for the freezer. So it works out pretty well. Prep that can be done and forgotten about. So I shall leave these to one side, and we can get talking about our roast potatoes. Just make sure our veg is all right. Excellent. You can see, so my onions in here are starting to sort of soften and go translucent already. The carrots, obviously, they're a little bit harder. They might take a little bit longer. We are going to cook them in the sauce as well. We're not fully cooking the veg at this point. We're just trying to extract as much flavour as possible. That's the most important thing. That's why I find the sort of the tip for slicing the carrots relatively thin works quite well. Otherwise, you have sort of chunks of carrot in there that aren't quite cooking down fast enough. So I'm going to leave that veg cooking over, and I should just get my potatoes. So perfect roast potatoes. Very important thing when it comes to any roast dinner. It's a lot of people's favourite part as well, but very, very easy to achieve. It doesn't have to be stressful. So I'm using King Edward potatoes. King Edward potatoes are great. They're a really good all-rounder. Russets are really good as well. I've already peeled my potatoes and just have them in some water. So they're so good because they have quite a light, fluffy texture. So when they're roasted, you'll see when I explain to you about the parboiling, the outside starchy edge is what creates that really nice crust on a roast potato. So I always think as well, roast potatoes, they don't have to be a perfect shape. Sometimes if you go diagonally, you get that really nice surface area and as much edge as possible. That way, when they are part boiled and the outer edge goes nice and soft, you've got more of an edge to sort of ruffle up and get all that really nice texture on the outside of the potatoes. But we do want to try and make sure that they are similar size so they boil and roast at the same time. So I shall go in a large pot of water, large pot. So potatoes, always into cold water. So you need the potatoes in quite a large pan, depending on how many you're doing. They need space. You don't want them too crammed together in there, otherwise they will struggle to cook. So pop them on sort of a high heat. So yeah, they will struggle to cook. Potatoes are really important, sort of with any root veg, that they, even when you're part boiling, that they slowly come up to a boil. If you pop them straight into boiling water, they're not going to cook properly at all. So into cold water, bring them up to the boil. Also very important to start off the seasoning of the roast potato straight away. So not just throwing salt on right at the end. We're going to go in with some fine sea salt. Now it looks like a lot, but most of that salt is going to go down the drain anyway when you drain the potatoes. But it's going to cook and sort of go into the potatoes. So your water, when you're cooking veg, potatoes, or any root veg, your water should sort of taste like seawater. If the water doesn't taste salty, then your veg isn't going to be seasoned and taste salty either. So I'll get rid of my bowl. So my veg is nice and soft. I've got some nice colour on there as well, which is great. So if you can see, the bottom of my pan here is sort of a nice, deep, rich brown colour. So you've got a few little caramelised bits on the bottom of the pan. That's absolutely fine. That's loads and loads of flavour. That's all the flavour for my chicken wings and my veg. And we're going to be using our wine to sort of deglaze the pan. So by adding a liquid to a hot pan that has some sort of nice, almost sort of burnt on flavour to the bottom of the pan, it's sort of hard for me to scrape it off. But the hot steam is going to help to remove all of that flavour for us. So we can go back in with our chicken wings and all of our wine. And then we'll bring it up to a simmer. We want to reduce the wine by about half. There's quite a large amount of wine in there. And already you can see the wine's brought up any lovely stuck on bits of chicken and veg there. You can just scrape it off, and that's all that lovely rich flavour for the jus. It's important to reduce down any alcohol when we add it to a sauce. Otherwise, you get that just raw alcohol flavour that's quite unpleasant. So we're going to just keep this on a medium heat and reduce this down by about half. Turn this up a touch. Cool. And we've got our stock ready to go there when our wine's nice and reduced down. Okay, next we are going to get our cranberry sauce ready. So this could not be easier. Basically, everything in a pan, that's it. We're going to bring it up to a boil, reduce it down. All this sugar is going to make it really nice, thick, sort of jammy consistency. And you can have this ready and done sort of a week before and just in the fridge. So put my pan here. So we have fresh cranberries, 300 grams. Just going to give these a little rinse. So fresh cranberries, brilliant if you can get hold of them. If not, frozen are just as good. So don't worry if you can't get it fresh. It's really not a problem at all. Just frozen, same amount is absolutely fine. It's not going to change the recipe at all. We have our sugar and our vanilla paste in there. That can go straight in. So the heat's not on yet. We're just combining all our ingredients. We have 40 mils of ruby port. Straight in. I have 3 cardamom pods. This adds sort of a different layer to this sauce. Obviously very, very sweet. That nice spice you get from the cardamom pods works really, really well. But if you just give them a light crush with the knife, just releases the flavour. So pop them in. And then you just have an orange left. So if we use a microplane, we're going to zest the orange and then pop the juice in as well. So whenever you're zesting any fruit, always zest over whatever you're going to be using it in. So you don't want to be losing out on any of that flavour or these essential oils in the orange. Orange is sort of a classic Christmas flavour. Whenever if I brine my turkey, I always pop in some Some slices of orange in with the brine is always really nice. Cranberries can be quite tart, so that's why we've got quite a large amount of sugar in here. Helps to balance out that tanginess of the cranberries. So make sure you scrape out any of the skin. And then we can juice the orange straight in. Make sure you're catching any pips you might have in there. Perfect. And lastly, 150 mils of water. And then we can just pop cranberry sauce on. So we're going to bring it to a gentle simmer. And then, so you can see, we need to bring all these ingredients together. At the moment, we've just got cranberries floating on top of all our liquid. So we're going to bring it up to that gentle simmer and then reduce the heat down to a nice low heat and then just cook down the cranberries till they sort of start to pop and start to soften. The liquid will reduce and thicken. And that's basically it for our cranberry sauce. Really, really simple. Fresh. No need to buy jars. It's as easy as that to make your own. And you can have it away. You can even give it to people as a gift or take it around to someone's house if and when we're allowed. So my cranberries are on. My potatoes are ticking over. My jus, you can see now, I'd say half of my wine. So I've reduced by half. It's smelling absolutely incredible. My veg is looking great. Chicken wings are doing their thing. So at this point, we're going to go straight in with our chicken stock. And then obviously, once you add your cold chicken, heat up and then just bring this back up to a simmer. So yeah, so we just need to wait now for our potatoes. When we come back, we'll drain our potatoes and I'll show you how to finish the sauce and the cranberry sauce as well. Okay, so everything's ticking over nicely, I hope. My potatoes are pretty much there. They've been boiling away for about 5 minutes. I just bring one up to show you. So the outside, you can see it's sort of going sort of nice and soft and fluffy. That's what we want. But obviously they're still raw. So I've got a colander all ready to go in my sink. And we can just drain them off into there nice and carefully. So this is the important bit. Be careful of the steam, it's very hot. So we need to shake up the potatoes. So you'll see, I'll come over here. By shaking up the potatoes, it agitates that nice soft outer edge. You don't have to go too crazy, but you can see how all the outside edge is fluffed up really beautifully there. So that's all that lovely starchy outside of our potato. These are all the pieces that are going to go really nice and crisp once we cook them in the oven. So at this point, you guys are going to be done for your potatoes. So you can do this whenever you like, leading up to Christmas. Have them done, and then all we're going to do is freeze them. But these are really hot at the moment, so the best thing to do is leave them to cool down at room temperature and then pop them in the fridge, maybe even overnight, to make sure they're nice and cool and they sort of firmed up, obviously, because they're quite soft on the outside. So make sure they're nice and firm. You can pop them in a freezer bag and then just pop them straight in the freezer. I shall show you how we finish off the potatoes, but for now, we can pop these to one side and we can check our cranberry sauce and au jus. So my cranberry sauce has still got a little way to go. It's smelling absolutely beautiful, but as you can see, there's still quite a lot of liquid in there. So we need to reduce that right down. But my cranberries are starting to really soften nicely. So we're going to keep that on a nice low temperature just to gently cook down. Over to our chicken jus. An important stage of the jus is we're not just going to walk away and just let it boil and boil and boil. You need to look after it. So what I've been doing, once it comes up to the boil, you can see this foam on the top here. It's really important to skim this off. That's just all the fat, extra fat and impurities that we've extracted from the chicken wings. So just by skimming off this top layer every few minutes, just sort of helps you achieve a much clearer, tastier jus. So I think we just need a few more minutes and we'll come back and I'll show you how to finish the potatoes and our jus and our sauce. Okay, so my chicken jus is pretty well there. I have been looking after it, making sure I'm skimming it every few minutes. The chicken wings and veg are sort of nice and exposed now. So you can tell you've reduced it down by about a half. So what I'm going to do now is just strain off all that veg and all that chicken. So make sure you've got yourself a bowl and a colander. And just strain that off into a colander first. Nice and gently. So it's a gentle process making your jus. You don't want to rush it. You don't want to boil it away really rapidly. So it is patience, but it just means that you can get a nice pure sauce. You don't want to be boiling in, reboiling in all that fat and all those impurities. So I've got my jus here. So we're just going to get another pan with a finer sieve now. So you can see I've all got pieces of thyme and things in there. So just a final strain to get rid of any other bits of herbs or anything that might be in there. And then if you like, you can reduce it a little bit further. At this point as well, it's good to give it a little taste. Obviously, we've seasoned it as we go, but we need to taste it, make sure it doesn't need any more seasoning because you want it to be ready just to reheat on Christmas Day. Really, really tasty. The chicken flavour that you get from using that beautiful fresh chicken stock and those chicken wings and getting all that lovely brown on the outside just makes all the difference. And you should get that nice acidity of the wine there as well. It's really, really lovely, simple sauce to have done and ready to go. I'm going to show you my roast potatoes. So we got to the point where they're sort of just cooling down and they're parboiled. So at that point, you can just pop them away in the freezer until you're ready to roast them. They roast great from frozen. I'm going to show you the finished product. These look absolutely incredible. So either duck fat or goose fat is my personal favorite. Of course, if you're a vegetarian, then sunflower oil or even some olive oil works fabulously as well. Get a sort of good amount on the bottom of the tray. maybe sort of 100 mils, 150 mils. Get it preheating in your oven so it's really nice and hot. And then you just want to add the potatoes nice and gently. You can see the sort of size tray I'm using here. You want to make sure there's enough space on the tray for sort of good airflow so you get really nice crispy potatoes, really crispy outside and really fluffy center. So these will go in the oven at about 200 degrees for anything up to sort of 50 minutes to an hour. And then you can see on my tray, I've got some lovely rosemary and garlic here as well. But we don't put that in the beginning. So the sort of final 5 or 10 minutes of cooking in your roast potatoes, then just pop in some crushed garlic and your rosemary sprigs, just to infuse in there with the roast potatoes. I always like to pop my garlic on top as well. The cloves are sort of really nice and sweet and roasted. And then that's our gorgeous crispy roast potatoes. I always like to finish them as well with some Maldon salt on top. My cranberry sauce over here is good to go. You can see this is reduced down nicely. So with our cranberry sauce, we can just pop our cranberry sauce away. So I've just cleaned out my stock pot, and this is ready to just cool down in here and then pop away in the freezer. So that's good to go, pop away in the freezer. I've also just jarred some up, so you can just pop them on the table, all jarred up and ready to go. Or as I said, give them away as presents as well. And with my gravy, let's serve up a bit of a chicken gravy as well. So just into a jug. So as I said, guys, for you guys, you can pop yours in a plastic container and freeze it until you're ready to use. I'll show you that as well. So got about enough for about 6 there with that jus. Plenty of jus for the roast dinner. So that's it. That's our Get Ahead Christmas class all done with. I hope you learned a few bits and pieces. I hope your roast potatoes come out as crispy as mine. But yeah, get ahead for Christmas, get organised so your day can be stress-free. Thanks for joining me. You can get more virtual experiences on johnlewisexperiences.co.uk. Hope to see you then.